All right, so let's talk a little bit about some other types of zoning or codes and all that. It's called the building code. Now, once again, this is designed so that you, I mean, in your infinite wisdom, you might decide that I want to build a building out of balsa wood. Well, that's not fair to a customer that comes into this fire hazard death trap. So they create what they call a building codes. The building codes are nothing more than a set of engineering standard that tell you what is now acceptable for health and safety, for all kinds of reasons. For instance, now remember 20 years ago the plugs were two-pronged. Now the building code says they got to be a grounded plug, so you got three-pronged. So the building codes can evolve and change to help it out. Knob and tube wiring, then it was aluminum wiring, and now we've got, Comex and all that flex wiring. That's required. In commercial space, now if it's bigger than 5,000 square feet, it has to have an automatic sprinkler system. That is to protect the public. You may go, well, I don't want to put it in there. I'm perfectly fine. That's not your choice. We got to protect the public. So that's called the building codes. That to get a building built, you actually have to go in front of the plan reviewer. And actually, my cousin Robin is one of the plan reviewers. He's been there 30 years. So anytime you want to get a building permit issued, like for that garage you were just talking about, you can't just go out and build the garage. You submit the plans to the state, and Robin or one of the other 6 guys look at the plans and go, this doesn't match the building code. It's not safe. You can't use, balsa wood and paper shingling, so we're not giving you the permit. You have to change the plans. Or conversely, they would say, yeah, this is standard. It's got, 16-inch 2x4 on center, 16 inches. It's got a structural roof. It's got the prong. They pass it. You get a building permit, then you go out and build. All right. There's a very special building permit for residents. It's called a certificate of occupancy. Or if you're like the slang in your hip, what's it called, Diane? C of O. C of O. She must be hip. I want to get the C of O. If you can remember back long enough to the seller's disclosure form, remember that form that says it is defective or it's not defective? I told you one of the exclusions to that was brand new built homes, because they get it right here. A certificate of occupancy is only used one time from the builder to the very first homeowner. From the first homeowner on out, we use that seller's disclosure form. From 1 to 2 and 2 to 7 and 7 to 30. But from the original builder to the very first home buyer, they have to have a certificate of occupancy. That's where the building guy comes in and inspects and says, yes, the windows seal, the doors lock, the roof's not going to be, and then he fills his form out and the builder sticks it on the window. And when you close on a brand new house, it's one of your closing documents, so you can sign off on it saying, yes, this house is passed and is in fact habitable. So it's nothing more than a special building code for residents. All right? They have to take in all the considerations if you're doing commercial, so you still got all the ADA issues. That would be something your plan reviewer, if I built a 2-story building or a 4-story building and didn't put an elevator in it, I would not get my permit, because they're going to come back and go, yeah, it may be structurally sound, but how do the people in wheelchairs get to the 4th floor? And under the new rules, Title III says access to public goods and places. We're not going to give you the permit to build a 4-story building with no elevator. Sorry. All right? Now, when it comes to subdivision, remember what a subdivider is. A subdivider is nothing more than a person that buys 100 acres and then hires a surveyor, and they shoot the azimuth, and they divide it up into littler segments, acres, half acres, 1/8 acres, whatever they're going to do it. They then sell that development or sell that subdivision to a developer, or they become the developer, depending on how it works. And they're the one that construct the improvements. the road, the sewer system, putting in the lights, the street lights, you know, the little bricks out front that say, welcome to the modular estates or whatever. That's what a developer would do. When they do that, they create a land plan or a land development plan. Think of that comprehensive plan that did all of Greenwood. Think of this as a micro version of that. This is my land plan on how I'm going to do modular estates. Where's my drainage? Where's the retention pond going to be, or detention pond? Where's the roads going to be? Do I have to worry about the three-toed sloth that's in the, you know, as a protected animal? I got to worry about that. How am I going to take care of it and relocate the spotted owl? All of that stuff. You guys ever tasted spotted owl?
No.
It tastes just like bald eagle.
Mm.
Yeah.
They both taste like chicken.
Yeah. So, and he's going to use what they call the plat map. How did the subdivider lay these out? Are they all in a circle, around one big circle? Are they in a square? And they've got several. There's one called the gridiron. You know, it's parallel streets. You know, it looks just like a box. And you put the houses on it. And then they've got the new one now, it's called the curvilinear, where the roads all curve in circulars. And you've got green space and parks. So they will use that to determine, and they're going to submit that land plan and say, here's how we're going to develop this property. It's the version that then the state would take all of those and make their community plan. They also have this thing called density zoning. Density zoning is how they control the population in an area. Density zoning tells you how many units per acre we can build. For instance, anybody living here in Franklin Township? Franklin Township has one of the lowest density zonings. What they're trying to tell you is we don't want a lot of people packed in that area. So in some of the land I looked at out in Franklin Township, it was like 2.4 units per acre. That tells you that you can only have 2.4 houses on an acre. So if I wanted to build a 100-acre lot, I'm going to need, 50 acres to do that. And the point is, so they don't want a lot of people out there. They like that problem. Now the problem they've got is they go out and they build a $4 million football for Franklin Central Flashes, and now they've got less people to pay for it. That's why the taxes in Franklin Township are so high. Mm-hmm. Well, you wanted to live out there by yourself, now pay for it all by yourself. So that would be the density zoning and what we use that for. Now, everything that we've talked about up to now has been the government. It's the man holding you down. Now let's talk about how we hold ourselves down. There are actually some private land use controls, and we've talked about them before. When a builder builds, he may put on what they call restrictions on houses. He can do that through a CCR and not the band. See, I said that one time, and one kid in the front row goes, "Who's CCR?" And I'm like, "You, out." Covenants, conditions, and restrictions are a private set of rules set up to establish standards so that all of the lots are similar. For instance, the one that I keep going back to, Kensington Grove, out here. All right? When you buy a lot, they literally tell you what kind of house to put on it. It's got to be 5,000 square feet minimum. Got to be all brick. Got to have a basement. Garage has to face the back of the house. Why? Not because they want to tell you what to do. They just want the neighbor's value to be withheld. Because you certainly don't want to buy a house and then someone else buys the lot next to you and puts a mobile home in it. Remember? What's that called where you bring the value down? Regression. You don't want to be a victim of regression. It's not fair to you that, Billy Joe Jim Bob wants to move his Uncle Dad in over here in the mobile home right next to you. So they put CCRs on there to say, hey, you got to do this. That's the builder's way of controlling the population. Now, buddy of mine's going through this problem right now. Exactly the same thing. Bought in a brand new neighborhood. He was one of the first 4 or 5 houses. They're all $300,000 pluses, and they had that same similar kind of thing. Certain size of house, got to have a certain look, yada, yada, yada. The problem was the developer went bankrupt, or the builder went bankrupt. And what he ended up doing was selling the lots to another home builder who builds homes smaller than Jim's. So now they're starting building these, 2,000 square foot ranch homes, and Jim's all upset because the value of his home is going to be affected because he's got like a 5-bedroom, 4-bath,
So when that I would say is it the developer that went bankrupt or the builder or whatever?
The builder bought all the
Built
lots
land.
and he went bankrupt, so he sold all the lots.
Okay, so wouldn't there be, there's no kind of, I know there's not, but why wouldn't there be some sort of protection of the builder, the new builder?
I don't know. I'm not a developer. I'm sure
You know what
that
I
there
mean?
was probably something that had to do with the guy that was building the houses is the one that was creating the CCRs. And when
And
he...
those don't carry over to the next
No,
builder?
because he probably didn't develop them for lots that he hadn't started building on. Because they are based on a lot. So when I sell you a lot, I'll put it on the thing. I don't know if you could put it on the whole property. Obviously you can't, otherwise Jim wouldn't be calling me all upset. Yeah, because he's asking me, what can I do? I'm like, dude, I have no slightest
Sell.
idea. Here's a phone number to an attorney. That's about the best I can help you with on that. You're gonna need a land guy that specializes in real estate or development attorney to figure out, can you stop this guy from selling $200,000 homes amongst your $600,000 homes?
Normally, there's not that big of a gap. It's like a 220 price range, and they've got a 400 is the most you can
Yeah.
go, so it just sounds
Now,
like that.
Jim's house was about $600,000. I mean, it's a huge
Wow.
house.
Yeah,
It's 3
but
stories.
think of how attractive that would be to somebody who wanted, could only afford a
225 or
200. I want to,
Well, yeah, that's
progression.
progression. That's the big, I told you. Everybody wants to be a victim of progression. I want to live on guys, but I only want to buy the small house so I can still tell everybody, hey, it's
Hey,
guys.
come on, guys.
We do it with cars all the time. Driving a Porsche. You are? Yeah, it's a 1940, but it's still a Porsche. Well, yeah, for a Porsche person, that's probably, it's a 1972 Porsche, lime green.
Any Porsche is still a Porsche.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
You know the difference between a Porsche and a porcupine? On a porcupine, the pricks are on the outside.
Super
That's wrong,
beat, I
don't
guess.
laugh at that.
I'm not laughing.
We could also do one other version called the Homeowners Association. That's another way we can control what happens. Now, the Homeowners Association, in the hierarchy of crap, that's the easiest one to change. Theoretically, you could take control of the board, have a vote, and change, all right? So where CCRs, I think, only last for like 25 years, but zoning is almost always permanent unless you seek out, you gotta go through a bunch of costs. Homeowners associations, we can all get together and go, hey, that's a stupid rule, let's change it. Okay, as long as we got enough votes, we can change that rule and allow so-and-so. So in the hierarchy of stupid stuff, HOAs is the easiest one to change, but it's still a private version. And once again, it's not designed to hold you down. It's designed to make the values consistent by not allowing your neighbor to put 2 cars up on blocks while he's changing the oil or, doing something like that. Now, sometimes I think they get a little snotty and out of control, and like for instance, in our housing addition, all the front doors have to be what they call 6-panel doors. You've seen them? Those are the ones that got the little squares, 2, 2, and 2. Can't have a solid door. They don't like that look. We can't have chain link fences. You can have a picket fence, and you can have a 6-foot privacy fence, but you can't have a chain link fence. They just don't. But if I had enough people that all got together, we could change that rule. All right? Now, there on page 396, one of the last things I want to talk about is what's called the Interstate Land Sales Full Disclosure Act. The Interstate Land Sales Full Disclosure Act. What this is designed to do is to protect the consumer from that person that's selling Ocean View lots in Arizona to a retiree sitting in Chicago and go, oh, trust me, I'm selling you this Ocean View lot, and it's yada, 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 all right? So if you are selling undeveloped lots, what's that mean? Or what's the word we use for that? Vacant. If you're selling vacant lots, if you're selling undeveloped lots to clients across state lines, so if you're selling a house to somebody in California, doesn't count because it's developed. If you're selling a vacant lot to someone that already lives in the city, this doesn't count. Undeveloped lots across state lines, you have to submit a form to, is it HUD? Yeah. And on this report, it shows all of the things that someone that doesn't live in the area would want to know. Where's the lot? What's the access to the interstates? Where's the shopping? You know, let me see a picture of the plot. Let me see all the other houses around there. All of that stuff. You have to create this form and submit it to the potential buyer. Okay? Now, there are exceptions to this rule as well. If you're only selling or selling less than 25 lots, you're exempt. Even though they're vacant across state line, you're only selling one vacant lot, you don't have to fill the form out or the report. Or, if the vacant lots are greater than 20 acres each, you are also exempt. So here's my take on this. If you're only going to cheat a couple people, or cheat them really hard, you don't have to file the report. My belief is probably less than 25 means that this report is so costly that it's not economically beneficial to sell one lot and fill out this $8,000 report. And the other one is if you're buying in acres of more than 20, you probably are a skilled, knowledgeable investor and understand what you're getting into. All right? So that's the exemption. Less than 25, or if the lots are greater than 20 acres. You are exempt from filling this report out. Otherwise, vacant lots across state lines, you are required. All right, any questions on the development? If I were you, I would remember the different types of zonings. I remember the 3 or 4 classifications. Understand what density zoning is, aesthetic zoning, things like that. All right, that's it. Thanks.